Another little solar update, guys. It's 2:45 p.m. March 12th. I managed to get a little bit of sleep last night. If you watched my last video, you know that I was up till about 6:30 a.m. because we had another unexpected solar event, and I just wanted to give an update on this. If I stumble over a few words, please forgive me. I've been trying to keep up with this very intensely, and to be honest, I'm about drained, but my gut tells me to keep my eye on this. I'm getting most of our links off of our research website, and I'll provide all these links in the description. First off, let's take a look at spaceweather.com. Solar wind. It's pretty up there right now, 728 kilometers a second, but the proton density is way down from what it was earlier this morning. I've seen it as high as 52 protons per cubic centimeter this morning. Now it's down to 1.9. They have finally updated the KP index. Right now it's 4, unsettled with a forecast of 6. Interplanetary magnetic field is at 10.2 nanoteslas south, which means there could be a few holes in the magnetosphere. A great site, solarham.com. There's your I don't have my mouse pointer turned on, but shows you the solar wind speed, the K index, X-ray graphs, protons, all the active regions. Here's what's given us so much trouble. Over on the western limb, which would be your upper right, is sunspot AR 1429. It is moving off to the western limb, and from this point on it shouldn't be a problem. What is of concern is 2 sunspots and a transequatorial coronal hole stream, which is that big blue area right in the middle of the sun. Right next to that, if you look at the blue area, at the top part of it, right to the left, is sunspot 1432, and next to it, I believe that one has been named 1433. Both of those are active spots. Now, if any of you have been keeping up with the solar activity for the past week, you know that we've been getting pounded relentlessly for a week, and that is what has me a bit concerned, especially when I look at this particular chart and graph right here from GOES 11 and GOES 13 satellites. The sheath, right, okay, let me try to explain this a little bit better. You see the white outline? Watch it compress, watch that sheath compress close down to the Earth. The Earth being that little black and white dot in the middle. The satellites are in the dotted pattern in orbit. This morning, well, you can see right there it's getting very compressed. This morning it was like just wrapping all the way around, and I can't say that I've ever seen that occur. And I'm still trying to figure out, is this from a coronal hole stream? Is this from the March 10th 6.8 M flare, or is this something else? Let's look at the attenuation map. I'll do a quick refresh. Not a whole lot to see here at the moment. We do have a CME 8.4. M-class to arrive at around midnight Eastern Standard Time tonight. So I will be watching all the data on that. Here is our magnetosphere. At the moment, earlier this morning, that entire sheath was white. A lot of compression. As you can see on the graph, you can see about the time that it hit. There's some K-index information. And here's images over the past 2 hours. Looking at the ACE data, that peak in the middle of the graph, that was at 5:30 or 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It was in a steady decline, but now here in the past hour it seems to be on the rise again. This could be, I would say this is the precursor to the 8.4 that is to arrive tonight. Look at some more data. Another ACE chart. Refresh it again. I refreshed this about 10 minutes ago and it's still on the rise. Solar wind speed, proton density. This is our geomagnetic K-index down here at the bottom. We are in a moderate geomagnetic storm at the moment. Let me do a refresh. Hasn't really changed much in the past 10-15 minutes. And let's see what else we got going on for the month of March. This is a new site that I found. I'm going to link it up on our website. It shows the major astronomy events for this year. What do we have going on in March? Well, we have Mars at opposition. We have a full moon. As some of you may know, tonight, tomorrow night, and I guess through the 14th, you have the conjunction of Venus and Jupiter. That's been the two bright, spectacular objects in the night sky. And right behind that, we have Saturn and the moon at opposition. So we've got a lot of planetary alignments happening at the same time. So I wanted to point that out. This is what you may be seeing in your night sky. Jupiter to the upper left, below it to the right is Venus. It's an awesome picture. And we had some very curious images come out yesterday. I did a video on this. We weren't quite sure what we were looking at. If you look at the bottom of the corona of the sun there, you see what appears to be a spherical object with some kind of vortex between the corona and what looks like a spear. I'm going to advance the frames. Now in a minute there's going to be a CME and this thing's going to appear to release. There, it releases. Let me back up. Next frame, there's a CME and it seems to release. From the best we can gather, that was just a very intricate and complex magnetic filament and some type of vortices. And I would have to guess that the CME and the solar wind just blew it off into space. Let's look at some earthquake data, and then before I finish up, I'd like to play a little bit of a video from Suspicious Observer's YouTube channel. I would suggest subscribing. He puts out some very valuable information in his 2-minute news clips once or twice a day. Here's some of the swarms of earthquakes that we've had over the past 36 hours. The biggest one I see is in Japan, 5.8. I've heard that that could have been downgraded from a 6.0, but with the USGS, you know, who knows really, but they're officially calling it a 5.8. That's the green area. But you got all these other swarms, especially up around Alaska and the west coast. So I'll be keeping an eye on earthquake activity as well, because there could be a relationship between the solar activity, possibly the alignments. I mean, that's still theoretical, but now would be the time to study it. And I'd like to leave you with part of Suspicious Observer's post from this morning, and I'll play that now.
Coronal mass ejection impact yesterday, and while it's not horribly evident on the yellow, you can see the density there in the orange go from low to right around 10 protons per cubic centimeter. The spike is a lot more easy to see here on the SOHO solar wind data. But it wasn't a very strong impact. There was not a geomagnetic storm. It did cause a little bit of resonance here on the planet, but the big story was with our ionosphere. The magnetosphere did not do its job as well as we would like in terms of blocking all the solar plasma, and it was reported by many different agencies and on many different counters, elevated electron counts in our outer radiation belt. We have Earth's footprint over here by this departing mega spot, so if it has anything to say before it goes, it better do it soon. NASA does still have it labeled as Beta Gamma Delta. Personally, at this point, at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do not see any delta spots whatsoever, but it is gamma and could put off some flares. I'm more worried about what's coming around the other side of the sun. You know, this part of it's not as visually appealing as that mega spot was coming around, but you can see it is active and it is putting out coronal mass ejection.
There's your coronal hole string.
There's the coronal matter kind of shoots outward there. So we'll have to keep an eye on this, folks. This really may be taking the place of 11429 as it turns a limb. Many people were scared of this thing yesterday. We saw a ton of videos about it. It is just a regular old filament, and it did erupt. For those of you who have been questioning, it is not coming towards Earth.
So don't worry, folks, that is not a heavy mass object. I know some people would like to run with that idea, but I will continue.
Beautiful. It's something we haven't seen in a while. We look over here on the stereo just to be sure. Earth is all the way over to the right, and so you can see that none of this ejected material is coming out in our direction. Now beyond this, folks, we have a trans-equatorial coronal hole that will be facing Earth in a couple of days, in this magnetic filament just over top of it here. Last thing I'm going to leave you with here, look all the way over on the right. You can see the solar wind temperature in the green, the speed in the yellow, and the density in the orange, all jumping up there at the end. That is the second coronal mass ejection impact that we've been waiting for, and let's have an eye on this all day. Be safe, everyone.
All right. More news as it develops. The sun is very active, and I'm sure we'll have more to report later on this afternoon, this evening, and definitely around midnight. Take care, everybody.